So this is the latest in our Stein's at home boxes, and it's called actually our at home box because it's based on my cookery book called Rick Stein at Home. First of all, we got mussels with spring onions, spinach and cider. Then we got braised short ribs with red wine, glazed carrots and shallots. And finally, a lovely poached pear with blackberries and more red wine. So let's get started. First thing is to heat up a pan and just add the butter. Just get that nicely melted. And then in goes the sauce, which is bay leaves, thyme, cream, spring onions, garlic and cider. And just let that come up really to a high heat just before I add the mussels. Now I'm going to add my mussels. Now these have already come clean. Sometimes they do need a bit of extra work on them, particularly if they've got beards on them. And just check that any aren't opened. If they're like that, they're fine, they're still alive. And also if you're in any doubt, just give everything a good old smell. And they should smell of the sea like these do. So now into my boiling sauce go the mussels. I just want to turn the heat right up now. I'll just put a lid on there now so things happen as quickly as possible. The point of that is you want to cook your mussels really quickly and take them off as soon as they're opened. So I'm just very quickly now going to put my garnish in there as well, which is some more spring onions and some spinach. And these are baby spinach leaves, so I'm just going to put all that in there, just like that. Now just stir them around a little bit more for the spinach to wilt down nicely. And then we'll serve it up. And there we have it, mussels with cider, spring onions and spinach. So now the main course is braised short ribs in red wine with carrots, shallots, pancetta and mushrooms. So it's a good idea when you're preparing the starter to start your braised short ribs. They've already been slow cooked with lots of lovely vegetables and lots of red wine and lots of stock, and they need to go into simmering water for about half an hour. So they're ready to go. So now all I've got to do is prepare the garnish. Now the garnish has already been pre-cooked with lots of butter. So into my frying pan I'm just going to add all the garnish. So I'm just going to wait for this to cook down a little bit. And while I'm waiting for that to happen, just chop up these few mushrooms. Now the reason for adding the mushrooms later is they taste much better if they're fresh. So there we go. This will take about 5 minutes to finish really, because we do want to just get those vegetables nice and shiny, caramelised. So now in go the mushrooms, and a quick cook of those. So just going to chop up some broadleaf parsley as my final garnish. I always like the parsley quite sort of chunky, you know, if you like. So all I need to do now is get my pouch with these lovely ribs in. So in goes that as well. Look at that. And just to add a personal touch, I don't need any more salt, but I just like freshly ground pepper in my beautiful ribs. And finally, in goes the parsley. I wish we could have supplied a nice bottle of red burgundy to go with this, or a bottle of Bordeaux, but that's what it needs. Or maybe an Australian Shiraz. Anything with lots of body, because gosh, this has got lots of body. Before I do serve it up, let's do the mash. It has to have mash with it, of course. The mash is already ready for you, but you need to heat it up, obviously. You can do that in a microwave, but I just quite like to just add a bit of milk and just reheat it like this. I just find just a little bit of black pepper. It's rather nice in mash. Just look at that. This is the sort of dish which great red wine is made for. And now for the dessert. One of my favourite dishes from the new book at home, poached pears. But they're not just any old poached pears. They're pears poached in red wine and blackberries. And that has the effect of giving them a lovely deep colour and also adding a certain sort of fruity element to the sauce, which is very, very beautifully sweet and delightful and slightly spicy. And of course, as with all poached pear dishes, we've taken down the poaching liquor to a sort of unctuous glaze. And finally, some clotted cream, which I think goes exceptionally well with it. And I have to say, it's not one of my recipes, it's from my wife Sass's mother, Janine. And when I first tasted it, in Sydney as a matter of fact, I just thought, I've got to have that one. I could almost say I nearly wrote the whole at-home book around this one recipe. So there you have it, our latest Stein's at Home box, based on my latest book, Rick Stein at Home. First we had the mussels with spring onions and spinach, a lovely light starter. Then the heavyweight, beef ribs braised in red wine with mashed potato. Oh, comfort or what? And finally, that lovely poached hare, poached in red wine and blackberries with Cornish clotted cream. Yum!